We're rolling.
Welcome back to episode 61 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Podcast. We're sponsored by Fightback CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. My lovely assistant is pointing around at me. We're also sponsored by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need from website design, Google Ads, logos, SEO, lead gen, social media, anything that you need to build your business, they can help. Check them out at bbdigitalmarketing.com. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a brown belt training out of South Florida. You can check me out on Instagram at Uncle Milty BJJ or the Jiu Jitsu Dummies handle on IG. Bo behind the camera.
Hello.
Hey.
Miguel riding shotgun.
How's it going, everybody?
Once again, my lovely assistant, Miguel.
Hey.
How you doing, brother?
I'll be your Vanna White.
That ride is a bitch, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Was it 2 hours today?
No. Way better.
It was better?
Way better.
It was still, I left 2 hours early, and maybe an hour and 40 with the traffic. And I still couldn't find a bank on the way down. So thank you for taking care of the valet.
Couldn't find a bank in Miami that has more banks per capita.
800 banks. Just between the exit ramp, the beginning of the exit ramp to the end of the exit ramp.
I just drove. I was trying to find one by the house. But anyway, so joining us today, we've got a very cool guest, multiple-time black belt, Professor Mike SpiderNinja Bidwell. Welcome. Do we call you Professor or Mike? What do you prefer? You don't care?
You can call me Mike.
Mike. All right. Call him Mike.
Mike's perfect.
Yeah.
We'll go with Mike.
All right. So
you could say Mike or Mikey, you know.
When
I was on the East Coast, when I grew up, it was always Mikey as a kid. You know, I'm an East Coast guy.
Okay.
But, now Mike's fine, though.
Where'd you grow up? Syracuse, New York? I heard right around that. Yeah, I'm a Long Island boy myself. Can you tell? I got the New York. It's a different kind of New York accent than you have, though.
No, I know. I tell my students make fun of me because I see armbar.
Armbar?
Bar, yeah.
Armbar.
Armbar.
Yeah, it's the O's, like dollars.
Dollars.
Yeah.
You guys say like what do you say up by you? We say like a sandwich, like a hero, like a
gyro,
like a meatball sub. What do you guys say? Like you call it a grinder? Is that, do they call them like grinders up in Syracuse?
Yeah, but see, I lived up near Philadelphia too, so there was a hoagie. So now I'm in Colorado, so you know what I mean, like all over the place.
I went I grew up on Long Island. I went to SUNY Albany for school.
Oh, right on.
Just 1 year. They threw me out after the first year. They said,
you were out.
We no longer need your services, Mr. Campus. You can go.
Have a good day.
But yeah, when I went up there, you start to realize, people, when you tell somebody you're from New York, what's the first thing they say?
Oh, they always say New York City, and you're like, no. And actually, people say Syracuse is upstate, but it's actually central New York, so it's actually further.
Like over, right?
North.
You're like over by
like
the lakes.
Way
right?
up there. Yeah. So, but now I'm in Colorado. But I love Colorado out here. It's awesome, sunny. Yeah, beautiful.
Most people know you from, and this is where I know you from, your BJJ After 40 content.
Correct.
Either the BJJafter40.com. Funny enough, when we communicated, when you reached out, I don't know what I know all your content, I guess, from Facebook. Yeah. I've known you on Facebook, and I was like, I'm not following him on Instagram. How could this happen? How could I not? And I'm like, okay, let me just follow him. Now he's going to be like, this guy has no clue who I am. He's just following me for the first time. But I do know your content from Facebook, and I've always been. I watch it, and I'm just like, I'm over 40, and I can't do that. I can't make my body do those things. What's wrong with me?
How old are you?
I'm 48. I started.
48. Well, you don't look 48. So.
Thank you. I started jiu-jitsu right before my 41st birthday.
Oh, nice.
So I definitely started when I was older. It was like more
you're
like
like
just into,
You
like I was into the boxing and kind of taught myself little kickboxing, and then I started in my late 30s starting to go to gyms and play around with it a little bit, and then I found jiu-jitsu.
Why did you pick jiu-jitsu? Why jiu-jitsu? What was the draw?
I was just, I guess, really came from being a big fan of the UFC. Yeah. Started to watch in the early 2000s when I moved to Florida, and then it was. I did the classic mistake of I'll start jiu-jitsu when I get into a little bit better shape.
When you get in shape. And that's always a good plan, right?
Yeah, that was a great plan. And I wound up. I had a friend of the family, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. She had a family friend that was opening up a gym, and they put us together. They were like, "Hey, he's opening a gym. You've talked about wanting to do jiu-jitsu. He needs a new website and marketing." And I was like, "Well, I do that." So we wound up trading. I never paid him a dime. I did his website, helped with marketing. And that was just the relationship that we had for the first few years of my jiu-jitsu.
Free jiu-jitsu.
Free jiu-jitsu, baby.
Well, it's free, but not really. Your time is valuable. You know what I mean? So.
And I started coaching right away and opening the school. I mean, as a white belt, I was opening the school. He was was in law enforcement, so he'd be like, got a stake out here, or I've got to do this, and he would call and say, "Listen, you got to open the gym for me," or his wife would come and open, but I'd teach the classes. Cool. But small gym, so it was all white belts and kids, awesome. So that's how I got my start. So I mentioned you are a multiple time black belt. So let's talk about how you got your start and tell everybody, the different disciplines that you've trained in.
Sure. I think probably so I'm 52, so I'm older than probably both you guys.
God! Wow. 52? You got 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot on a banana peel.
I know. I'm almost on the way out, dude.
I'm just kidding. You look great for 52. You don't look a day over 40, to be honest.
He's in my range. Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I appreciate that. Thank you. But growing up in the 80s, I was an 80s child. So I think like most kids back then, I ended up doing karate,
Yeah.
And I wanted to do martial arts for a long time. I remember just being like a little kid and watching every martial arts movie and watching Kung Fu, the TV show. Every Saturday morning, I had this little black and white TV, and I would set my alarm for 4 a.m. because it was at some ridiculous time. And I would wake myself up and be in my dark ass room on my little black and white TV. Watching. You know what I mean? I'd always fall asleep. I almost never made it through an episode. But that was kind of my first real exposure to martial arts was, martial arts movies. And then when I was, my parents couldn't afford it when I was a kid. My parents didn't have a lot of money. My mom and dad had my brother when they were 17, had me when they were 19. So they were kind of young parents. Couldn't afford those kind of things. But I did, I played a lot of traditional sports like Little League baseball and football and all that. In fact, I was so small when I played football, I didn't make weight in Pop Warner. My dad would put weights inside of my pads. So when I weighed in, just so I could weigh whatever it was, 100 pounds or something ridiculous, right? Yeah. It wasn't even probably that much. You know what I mean? So I was always that small kid. And then so when I really was able to do martial arts, I was about 12 years old. This woman gave me $100 to mow her lawn for a week. They were going out of town. Took my $100 bill, got on my bike, rode to the first karate school nearby, gave it to the sensei, and signed myself up for karate lessons. And I'm proud to say, even to this day, I've paid for every martial arts lesson in my life, every lesson as a kid. Back then, it was $40 a month. But when you're 12 years old, $40 is $1 million. Yeah. So I had a paper out, and I would do extra things to pay for martial arts. And like most kids, I started out with Taekwondo. And that's really all there was back then. There was everything was just basically karate. And that's kind of how I got my start was traditional martial arts. And I did that for a while and ended up getting a black belt in Taekwondo. And then I kind of I saw the limitations of Taekwondo, even as a young martial artist. I was I could kick really good and all of it seemed kind of cool, but I knew my hands weren't really good. So I started going to a boxing gym and started getting into boxing a little bit. And then I switched over to a martial arts school after I got my Taekwondo black belt that was more geared towards more kickboxing. It was Kempo karate, but it was really kind of full contact kickboxing. I did a few amateur fights, ended up getting my black belt in Kempo. And then I started doing ninjitsu and did that for a while too and got my black belt in ninjitsu because
SpiderNinja comes from.
Right. But back then people laugh about it now, but in the 80s, ninjitsu was the thing, you were going to be a ninja. And to me back then, it seemed the most combat appropriate martial art, right? I wanted to go into law enforcement. I wanted to be a police officer. And I went to school for criminal justice. I got my degree in criminal justice and actually went into the military, into the reserves and was an MP, was in the first Gulf War. But, and sort of that was all kind of my path. I was always looking for something that was going to be functional, right? Yeah. So I wanted to do something that seemed realistic. And back then, that's really all there was. And after I came out of the military, I continued with ninjitsu and ended up getting my black belt. But then in 1996, 3 years after the UFC, a friend of mine signed us both up for an MMA fight in Virginia. And it wasn't even MMA then. It was it wasn't even really no holds barred, right? And I don't even think people were even calling it Vale Tudo here. It was just full contact, martial arts or something, you know what I mean? So I did this fight. I ended up going against a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I had no real grappling experience other than at the time we were just kind of watching whatever videos we could find. There were a few videos, VHS tapes and stuff like that. And we knew it a little bit. I ended up fighting this guy. It was these weird kind of rules where you could like, I think we could knee and elbow standing up and punch to the body standing up, something crazy like that. And then it was like punches to the body on the ground, but no like punches or elbows to the face, something crazy like that.
Wow.
We fought for like 15 minutes. At that point, they didn't declare a winner, so they had us fight for 15 more minutes. It was like in a boxing ring. And it was actually like a pretty good event. It was called Fearless Fighting. Like they had a lot of promotional for it. It was pretty big, and there were a lot of people there and stuff. But I ended up losing by a decision. I didn't really know anything. I didn't know any grappling at all. So the next day, the event was sponsored by Mario Yamasaki, right, from the UFC. Mario, right?
Oh yeah, the ref.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, he's the ref in the UFC.
Yeah, he just did that.
Yeah, he always does the hard thing, right? Yeah, that guy, right? And so we went down to his school and started grappling, and that was really kind of the start of it for me. That next day after that fight was like, kind of like the addiction started for me. And I had a school actually at the time. I had a martial arts school. I was living in Delaware at that time, and I went back to my little school. I was, I say I had a martial arts school, but I was running space in a fitness center. But for me, it was like the start of it. It really was kind of the transition into like a real school eventually. But I went back to my school and I told everybody, we're not doing the old stuff anymore, the ninjutsu stuff, right? Yeah. We're going to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu now. And I made everybody get jiu-jitsu gis. And we just basically, nice. And it's funny because no one was ranked. Do you know what I mean? Like we weren't even ranked or even associated with anybody at the time right away. Like eventually that all happened. But like at the beginning, it was just like, dude, we're just going to do this shit. And this is what's going to happen, you know?
We interviewed Christian Graugart from BJJ Globetrotters. He has a similar story where he was in martial arts and he had done Taekwondo. And then they came across the UFC videos and started sharing them. And then they just started training and like somebody would watch the videos and that guy would, show a move that week. And, and then it became, it just kind of rolled forward and became what it became. But he was definitely one of the first in Denmark to be doing jiu-jitsu.
And if you think about it, the funny thing back then, like pre-2000, there really wasn't internet like the way there is now. And there wasn't video. Like there wasn't video content on the internet. And sometimes people nowadays say, oh, they talk shit about YouTube or something with jiu-jitsu, right? But back then, I guarantee everybody was watching tapes. Everybody. I had a really close friend who had like, he had this whole network like on the underground where the underground is like it's an internet forum. It was really popular. It used to be really popular back in the day.
Like a martial art underground, like
right. Like it's called the underground. I'm not sure if it even still exists, but it was like this forum back in the day where you could post stuff, right? Okay. Yeah. People everybody that was in BJJ would post on there. And so they had this whole like trading network of like VHS tapes. So whatever content you could get. I mean, stuff from like weird stuff from Brazil, stuff from Japan, whatever stuff was here in the States. And so we were all like trading VHS tapes back and forth. We would just, but just shipping them in the mail, and you would get a bunch of box full. I remember I just get these boxes full of tapes, and we would just be watching this stuff. And, some of it was just really super basic, and some of it was kind of insane. But it was basically all there was back then. There just wasn't like, a school nearby. There weren't people nearby. There wasn't like YouTube and Instagram and all that. So a very different mindset.
I think everybody has. Did you do karate? Did you do martial arts when you were younger?
When I was very young, but in Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I'm still not sure what the story is, so I'll just stick with the worst version just in case I'm wrong. I think my mom said I didn't want to do it after I got a bloody nose or something. I don't know.
Bo, you too, right? Bo, you said you raised your hand when
I did karate, when I was a kid.
I did too. I did like 3 months of karate, Shoin-ryu karate. I remember it. It was right in the middle of my town. And the sensei punched a little kid that we had, like a kid that probably now you'd probably say he had ADD or ADHD, and he punched him in the stomach because he was just getting he was just running around and doing his own thing, and he punched him in the stomach. I was so scared. I got to be like maybe 8 or 9 years old. It scared the shit out of me. And I also did gymnastics, and I sprained my thumb in our end of the year gymnastics show, and it was my way out. I was actually studying, I think it goes to it was white to yellow. Oh, and I was studying for my yellow belt, and it was just like,
you don't have to do the kata.
I'm like, thank God for this thumb, because I'm not coming back. That guy hits little kids. Yeah. I was like, dude,
that's crazy.
No fucking way am I ever stepping back in there. And I never did it again. And then I did like Taekwondo, American Taekwondo when I was 19 again for a few months. Thought I knew it all. Okay, I know how to fight now. And then I moved on.
We all thought we knew.
Yeah.
For sure.
What were you going to say?
I was gonna say it's like you don't have to do the kata or anything like that.
Oh God, yeah. It was. I think it was kind of both of those things. It was like, great, I don't have to perform in front of
I did.
all of these people.
I had to do
and
that.
I don't want to get hit by this old man.
That's the part I enjoyed. Actually, was doing the kata because it was just.
I think it was too little. I say this all the time. I would probably never have stuck with jiu-jitsu if I started jiu-jitsu when I was a kid. I quit every sport to do something else. I played soccer. I switched to football. I played baseball. I sucked. In and out of martial arts. I just didn't have the discipline. I was, just wanted to go like play street hockey with my friends, Yeah. But once I got older, now there's discipline involved with it. I see the value and I just look at it differently. Does that make sense?
And I think I hear that a lot though. Like it's sort of like the last stop for a lot of people where they've like, I tried this, I did all of these different things. And I finally arrived at BJJ, right? So the timing is always funny because we always think like, man, I wish I would have done this when I was a kid, but I love what you said. Maybe like if I had done it as a kid, I probably would have quit and hated it, right? Yeah. So I'm always careful with parents. I teach kids. I run a full-time school, and we start kids, when they're ready. I don't even like to give people ages. Parents will say to me, can you start a kid at 3? I'm like, nah, I don't take 3-year-olds. It's just, to me, it's too young. I know some people like to teach them, but I don't feel like I can really show them what they need. And if I wait maybe a year or maybe 2 years when they're actually ready, then they're going to be a good student who's going to stick with it. You put him in there when he's 3 and he's like, dude, I'm not ready for this. And I always remind parents, like, that kid's been alive for 3 years. You know that, right? Yeah. That's a long ass time, dude. Yeah. I can't even remember like shit from 3 years. You know what I mean? 3 years ago, it's like nothing, right? It's no time at all. So I think like when it finds you is the perfect time. There's a kind of a funny saying, like the best time to start jiu-jitsu is when you're 4 or now, right? I think for most people, right? It's maybe not 4. Maybe it is like whenever it shows up in your life, and that was the perfect timing,
Do you think, you mentioned like there was a time like you go from the Bruce Lee times, right? Jeet Kune Do, and then you talk about ninjutsu. This is kind of the first time where we've had a martial art that hasn't faded. Like, right? Jiu-jitsu's been going since the beginning of the UFC.
It's getting stronger.
You could pretty much, I know jiu-jitsu's been around for a long time, but as far as it not fading out, at least in the US, since the beginning of the UFC, like we could just run that timeline and say it's only gotten bigger. This is probably the longest length of time that a martial art has been like this. It's been like the superstar of the martial arts arena, right?
And if I could add to that, there is quantifiable evidence that I've discovered that jiu-jitsu is spreading, or grappling in general spreading, because like I'm a little bit of a phone video watching degenerate, and sometimes I watch street fights. And street fights used to be a hot mess online. You'd watch a street fight and you're like, I can't believe.
Yeah, Dan. Now you see jiu-jitsu.
Yes. There's grappling, bro.
They put him in doing it, doing it, right?
Doing it in a street fight.
Yeah.
They'll like hold an arm bar to get, but because it's not very functional in a street fight, but they'll use it to like get to mount, and then even have them in a gift wrap and then just like beating them. Like these guys are doing.
I think that
it's spreading.
I mean, I'll love to get your opinion on that, Mike, but I look at it and I say, because jiu-jitsu's ever evolving, there are there's never going to be a time where there's not a new move that you don't know. I've learned all the jiu-jitsu. I'm good. Take care, guys. I'll see you next, I'll see you in a couple months, because I learned all the jiu-jitsu.
Blue belt.
It just evolves, and it's, I thought you were going to say something when you said quantifiable before. You go back to the days, the beginning of the UFC, when they put all of these different martial artists into a cage together, and jiu-jitsu came out on top. Yeah. It was like, okay, this is proof positive that this works better than any other martial art.
Whoever watched it and saw that, it stuck. That thing has a 100% kill rate, that video.
Yeah.
We all have that in common. We've all seen those videos.
Mike, you said, again, as somebody with multiple belts.
I think like what that did for a lot of people, like if you go back to that time period, like 96, when I started, traditional martial artists at that point were either running to it or running from it. And you still have some of that. Like they would be like, I remember people telling me, like people that I respected, and it really made me like not respect them anymore. Like higher ranking black belts and other in martial arts that I practiced with them. I remember one guy in particular said, "Oh man, you don't want to play grab ass." I was like,
give me, I'll show you grab ass.
Take the fuck out of here, right? Like grab ass. And that just immediately like, that kind of mindset really turned me off. And I think, but then I think there were people like myself that saw the value of it and were running to it. In fact, like I said, I even went back to my school and made everybody make that shift. I remember even I ran ads on TV that said Taekwondo and karate do not work.
Oh, wow.
Like I would literally call,
Mike, what did
oh,
you do?
dude, I was terrible, dude. I mean, now when I look at that, I was like, wow, I was kind of a dick on some of those ads.
It's just like cringy.
You know what I mean? But at the time, that was kind of how it was, everybody looked at it but I think the difference is that a lot of traditional martial arts are pretty much like dead arts. They're not evolving. No one's going like, dude, have you seen the latest Taekwondo kick or the latest, Taekwondo form or the latest evolution in the chop? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like a thing, right? That's not like a thing. But in jiu-jitsu, like, it's a living, breathing art, or it can be. Like, to some people, it might not be. Some people just regurgitate. Like, they literally just teach from like a coloring book, and maybe it's the same stuff and over and over again. The way that I try to present jiu-jitsu to my students and the people that I share it with is I don't give them a coloring book, right? One of the things I say a lot in my videos, at the end of my YouTube videos, I'll say, after the move, I'll say, I want you to continue molding the clay. I want you to continue molding the clay. I'm giving you this technique now to go do something with it, like do your thing with it now, and then come back and share it back with me again, because I want to see what you come up with next, right?
Yeah,
and so
great. Jiu-jitsu
has this ability to evolve way beyond like your own ego, way beyond Mike Bidwell, like, who am I, right? Like, so when I put a move out, like when I put a move on YouTube, when I put a move on Instagram, the intent is not like, hey guys, look what I can do. The intent is, hey, check this out and see what you can do with it now. Run with it for me. And I've had people like crazy stuff. Like I had this one guy in particular, and I can't remember where he was like Beijing or somewhere crazy, right? And he said he never trained at an actual gym or anything like that. And he was watching my videos, and he said sometimes at the fitness center that he worked out at, he would peek in the room sometimes and watch, but that was about it. And so he goes to a tournament and enters as a white belt and does this Kraken choke. It's this crazy leg twisted maniacal choke that I came up with, and gets a guy in a tournament with this move that like he never really learned from like, me as an instructor necessarily in person, but like on a video. But that's the cool thing, right? Like there's this opportunity for us all to evolve the art, take it on our own, make it evolve for our own body, our own set of circumstances, because Milton, your martial arts is going to be different than mine, right? Like you're built different than and you think differently.
I'm not built much differently from you. I'm only a couple of pounds. Right. I think I'm looking at myself. I'm only a couple of pounds heavier than you.
But you look like a stocky dude. You look like you got big arms.
I'm
you know
pushing 240 right now.
Yeah, he's
and you don't look like you have super long arms.
He's a condominium.
No, I'm like 5'10" and a half. I think I shrunk about half an inch. 5'10" and a half, and I'm 240 right now. But I did get back into weight training. I'm weight training again, which I had not been doing for years, not consistently anyway.
Right. So from a physical standpoint, we're going to approach jiu-jitsu differently.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe some way similar. It may look similar, but it's going to be different. The way that you think's different than me, right? The way that you see life through your own set of lens, right? As a brown belt is different than me. As a blue belt is different than me. And that's the cool part, is your lens as you progress through the art changes all the time. Yeah. It's kind of funny because you teach an armbar to a white belt, and then you teach it to them, when they're a brown belt, it's going to look different to them. It's a totally different armbar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're teaching an armbar to your student, like, a whole different set of ways every single time.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually doing like a kind of back take armbar series right now.
Yeah.
And I am, I know how to do the move, but I'm picking up these little details of, oh, wow, when I put my arm here, it works a little bit better. Or I just can't sit up the same way that I did, so make sure I lean this way versus leaning that way if I'm going to, go to a bow and arrow. Like, I'm picking up those little things. There are times that even at brown belt, I say to myself, like, you don't do a move for a long time, okay, look, I'm training maybe 3 days a week, and you don't do, you're not doing the same moves all the time other than when you roll. And you almost feel like, wow, I'm forgetting something. And then you come back and you're like, it is like riding a bike. Like, I do remember that. Oh, and like, wow, I just picked up this little detail that I didn't have before. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. It's just like, I come back to it and it's always something different.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
It's got something different for me.
It's like a Rolodex. It just keeps growing with moves. That's how it feels like to me. And I also like, I've had a couple of instructors due to like me moving and stuff like that. And I've noticed, I feel like I've had 3 good instructors so far, and then a lot of people that, talk to me when I have questions, and they all have like the same concept that you just spoke about. It's like you teach I'm going to say the word again. You teach the concept, and then from there you adjust it to your game.
Yeah.
Or even it, like your jiu-jitsu is different than mine, just like how Mike said. But like if you view it through my lens, then you'll learn something on your end, even through my like interpretation when I tell you something.
Super important, to see it through your eyes too. And I have to remind myself all the time as a professor when I'm teaching, like, how is this white belt seeing this move for the very first time, right? Like, what does it look like to them? Because to me, it's like totally different than, it would be for them.
How do you handle, like, do you do like a basic, so first of all, let's talk about your school. Is it, you have your own school?
Yeah, my wife and I. She's also a black belt.
Okay, awesome. What's the name? What's the name of your school, and where is it?
It's called it's Flow Life, FLO, Flow Life BJJ. It's in Lakewood, Colorado. FLO stands for Finding Limitless Opportunities.
There you go.
We're right here in Lakewood, and we do jiu-jitsu.
How do you handle? I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. How do you handle? Do you have a beginner's class where it's like all white belts and, anything below blue, basically, no matter how many stripes? Do you put them in with your advanced guys? Do you have let's talk about an adults class.
Sure.
We'll start there.
Yeah,
what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit more unique, I guess. Our school is we teach from a holistic standpoint, first off. And what I mean by that is we take into account all the moving parts, not just your physical body, but the mental part of the training as well. So from a physical standpoint, like our physical classes are smaller. We keep our classes fairly small. We don't take students all the time. Like we only take new students the 1st through the 15th of each month. So we don't take students on an ongoing basis. We're kind of right now at just about full capacity. Like I'm not taking any more adults right now. And the part of the reason we do that is I want to maintain a certain type of class. Like I don't want to have a school with 50, 60 students in a class where I feel like I'm more of a lifeguard than a swim instructor. So what I mean by that is like, if there's 50 people rolling and I got all these white belts and it feels like kind of chaotic and unsafe, then I got to worry about rescuing people all the time, right? Like I have to have eyes on everybody. But if I have a nice small class where it's a lot more manageable for myself and my students, like I think everybody has a lot better experience. We have fundamentals classes, but we also have, what's kind of cool with my school is we've been open now for 4 years, and I have a lot of white belts, but I also have a mix of blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, and people really close to black belt. Because I inherited students from other places, people that hadn't trained in years, and people that kind of found their way back. So we do have kind of these mixed classes a lot, but I use my upper belts to work with all the white belts. And we have a really good culture in our school where like people like really take care of each other. Nobody gets hurt. Like it's super safe, but we roll good and at a good pace. It's not like we don't roll. But it's in a much safer environment than I think in a lot of places that I've seen in the past. No. And that's kind of how we manage the classes.
So let's tell us about your wife. Did you guys meet in the jiu-jitsu world? Did you get her into jiu-jitsu?
So it's kind of funny because I came out to Colorado 20 years ago. I came out with a couple of jiu-jitsu guys. I had a few friends on the East Coast. I was living in Delaware at the time. And they said, hey, there's this martial arts marketing boot camp coming up in Colorado. Right. And it was this karate guy holding this thing. And I was like, all right, I'll go. So I came out here with these jiu-jitsu guys. And the first night that we were here was a Thursday night. And there's a karate school that's literally about a half a mile down the street on the corner. And that was where they were hosting the event the first night. They had like a meet and greet kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I go in there and they had like a little sign-in sheet at the front desk. And my future wife's working there. Wow. And she says, go ahead and sign yourself in. And I signed myself in, and I talked to her kind of throughout the weekend and stuff. And it's kind of funny, but we hadn't really like hung out at all. And so the last night on that Sunday, I'm with the jiu-jitsu guys in a car, and they wanted to go out to a nightclub or something. I'm not like a nightclub guy. I don't drink. I never have really drank at all. I was like, hold on, stop the car. They're like, why? I'm like, I'm going to go back and look for that girl in the hotel. So I go back to the hotel, and I'm running up and down the hallways, and we literally bump into each other in the hallway. We start hanging out. I get her email address, get into contact with her the next week. We start dating long distance. She eventually flies out to Delaware, and she never leaves.
That sounds like an 80s movie.
So, I know, dude. It's crazy,
I
right?
I see that movie.
Dude, and so here's the crazy. It's so.
I'm picturing you running up and down the hallways, like yelling her name.
So let me tell you a couple. Right. So let me tell you a couple funny parts about the story. So, I was 33 at the time. She was 19.
Oh,
right.
Lord.
So, and so she had just turned 19 too. But she's kind of an old soul. She really is kind of. She had actually just come back from Nepal, and it was anyway. So, she was 19. I told her I was 28.
Oh.
For some weird reason, like 33 sounded old to me, right?
Because it is.
So I was like, I'm 28. Well, to 19, it sounded kind of,
Yeah.
So I didn't tell her that for about 6 or 8 months after we were dating, like forever. So one day I was like, we got to sit down. I got to tell you something. She's like, what's up? I'm like, well, I got a couple kids. I've got 2 kids. She's like, oh my God, seriously? And I was like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm actually 33.
Yeah.
Make it sound really bad. Oh, no.
I did. That was my plan. So we actually have a name for that now. We call it 1 up, 1 down. You go 1 up to get the 1 down.
Yeah.
You got to go real bad here, right? And then you're going to be okay down here. That's how we met.
If you've been doing that for years, I can only imagine the ones you guys say as a joke for the 1 up before you say the 1 down.
Right?
Accumulating.
Right. So she was doing Taekwondo at the time. She was a brown belt in Taekwondo. And I got her doing jiu-jitsu, and she just got her black belt this last year.
Awesome.
She's been training with me the whole time. I promoted her to all of her belts, and 4 kids later too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We just had twins last year.
Oh, wow. Really? Woof.
Yeah, during COVID.
My wife tells me I'm too old. I just got married 2 years ago. My wife says, which she's 10 years younger than me. She says we're too old for kids.
Uh-oh.
And you just had, what'd you say, twins at, how old are you?
Well, she's 38. I'm 52. So, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not too old.
Yeah.
You're not too old. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's her story.
That's her story, though, right?
She says, we're too old. I'm like, you're 10 years younger than me.
Well, she is kind of in charge of all this to a degree, right?
Yeah, she has the machine that makes all this.
That's what I was going to say. She really makes the magic happen. You're just,
Give me a second, guys. I want to do some just quick sponsor shout outs. I've got one extra today, so bear with me. We want to shout out DD214. Got their shirt on. Bo's got one shirt on today, too. Fight DD214 Fightwear at DD214_Fightwear on IG. Gear for the war on PTSD. You can get 15% off your online order at dd214bjj.com with code JJD. Huge shout out to Flow and Roll at flow_n_roll on IG. Oh, that's that's a fight. Yeah, that's one of his original. He doesn't carry the fight camp anymore though, but it's all his original stuff.
That's how long I've been a supporter.
You were thinking about him though. Good for you.
Come on, Sean. Come on, Sean.
Check them out again at flow_n_roll on IG. If you're watching or listening and it's the month of December 2021, no coupon codes this month, but he dropped the prices on everything.
Yeah.
So his price drop is better than the coupon code. So if you're following or you're listening to us after December, January 2022 and beyond, use the code JJD. You'll still get your 20% off at flowandroll.com. Yeah. And as always, I can't stress this enough, his T-shirts are awesome. His no-gi kits and his gis, the work that he does and the artwork that he does is amazing. So check out his IG and just scroll through and you'll see lots of custom work for different gyms. So very cool. Thank you to Feito IT and AV, who specialize in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, CCTV. They put in the security system at my house. I love it. It's awesome. He's actually coming by to put another piece in that I asked him for.
Might hit him up.
Yeah, what's that?
Might hit him up for my house.
He's awesome. Check them out at feitoitav.com. It's feitoitav.com. Let them know the dummy sent you. Gym owners anywhere in Florida, he'll travel the entire state of Florida. If it's time, like with everything that's happened in the jiu-jitsu world in the last year, or what we've heard in the last year, it's new year, time for a new security system.
Protect your business.
Check it out. Protect your business. Protect your students. We also want to welcome Troop Welfare Foundation, where we're going to be talking about them throughout the month of December and January. They're a relatively new nonprofit. They're dedicated to helping veterans find outlets to cope with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues through martial arts, physical training, and recreational activities. All right, so go check them out on IG at Troop Welfare Foundation and at troopwelfarefoundation.com. We're going to have a rep from the company on the show probably in January, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about what they do over the next few episodes. All right, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share wherever you're watching or listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to click the bell, get notifications each time we launch a new episode or video. All right?
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the show, please help us thank our sponsor at Fightback CBD. We couldn't do this without them. Head over to their website at fightbackcbd.com. Check out their growing line of CBD products and find the solution that's right for you. That's fightbackcbd.com and get 20% off your purchase with discount code JJD. Also check them out on social media at FightbackCBD. Now back to the show.
Very cool. Thank you for being patient, guys. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. So let's go. So we were just talking about your wife. You've got 4 kids.
4 kids.
Who's doing jiu-jitsu?
Not the 2-year-old.
All of them. We all do jiu-jitsu. My daughter's 15. She's been training since she was basically since she was born. My son's 12. He trains too. And even those little babies, they're 20 months old this month, and they don't, do class and stuff, but we play around at home and wrestle around. And, for us, it's like jiu-jitsu is life. It's not like we go to jiu-jitsu. We run an academy, and it's kind of been this way for a long time. So I just, for us, jiu-jitsu is kind of the umbrella in our life. It's always there. Yeah.
That's sweet.
So you guys, the play jiu-jitsu, I think the Gracies used to call it I think Hirdon and Henrys would say that. They would play jiu-jitsu with their dad. They never force them on the mat. If one of your kids said, it's such a big part of your life, but if one of your kids said, I don't really want to do jiu-jitsu, Dad, what do you say?
With
Get
my
on the
family,
mat, you little son. No.
Yes, you have to train.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. It's never been like that with my kids. It's always been, jiu-jitsu is just always there, and they've always kind of looked at it like that. It's always there for them. My daughter's in high school, and so this year she's cheerleading for the first time, and so there were some months where she didn't train for a while, but then and I never said you need to go to class. There's never pressure like that. Then all of a sudden she's like, I want to go to class tonight, and it's just whenever she's ready. So it's kind of we always have jiu-jitsu in our life, and it's always there for us. And that's what I always remind my kids. It's always there for you. And that's how you treat it. And I try to remind my students of that too, that, if you're having a day that's crappy or you're feeling like shit, whatever, don't punish yourself by not going to jujitsu. Grab your bag, drag it across the damn parking lot if you have to. Walk in the door. You can nod at me. Don't say a word. I won't say a word back to you. Go get changed and come on out. And you know what? Jiu-jitsu is like a recycling factory. You guys know, it just does that. It's almost kind of annoying sometimes. You're just like, I kind of want to be pissed off. And then you come in and you roll, then you get all that shit out of you, get that energy out, right? That energy release, right? And if you don't have that, once you train jiu-jitsu and then you don't have that for a while, going through COVID and stuff, or if you've been through injuries or sickness and stuff like that, yeah, it sucks when you can't train. And then for other people that don't train, I don't know how other people live and exist. I don't know what their energy outlet could possibly be, because once you experience this stuff, it's man, everything else is just not even close, right? This is the drug.
It's bland for sure.
Yeah. Last night, I had a long day yesterday. I went to train. My wife came home. It was just stretching, massage, gun in my arm, getting ready to go to jiu-jitsu. And I wasn't very talkative, and I was just like, hey, babe, how was your day? The normals. Go to jiu-jitsu. I came back. She couldn't get me to shut up. I was just everything from the day, talking about the day. Christmas is coming, parties. You
feel better.
Family's coming. Our daughter, my stepdaughter, her daughter got accepted to UCF yesterday, NFAU. So she's all excited. So we're just it was just But right before jiu-jitsu, I was the most tired that I'm ever.
Blind,
at the end of the workday, I'm the most tired I could possibly be. I go to jiu-jitsu, and it was just it's like an etch-a-sketch, it's just starting over.
Yeah, it's like a break in all of the mental momentum and craziness, right? If you think about it, if you're having a shitty day and you stay at home and you're sort of stay in that mindset, and then maybe you go to jiu-jitsu. When you're training jiu-jitsu, you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about your grocery list. You're not thinking about the bad day. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just engaged in the present moment, fully engaged in the present moment. So you have this break in all of this mental momentum that was going on, and it starts to dwindle down. It puts it back into perspective again, right? And then when you leave, it's I'm not focused on what I was on the way in the door. It's literally like a recycling factory, right? You leave totally different. Yeah. And you're like, damn, that's crazy, right? And that's why I just encourage people, everybody, if you're having a bad day, go to jiu-jitsu. Don't stay home and feel like shit.
Yeah.
No one,
Side note, UCF, Ricardo Laborio runs some type of on-campus class
Right.
Jiu-jitsu.
That's cool.
There's like 50, 60 people every time he Wow. So I already told my daughter, I'm like, I'm going to be up every week to come visit you, to go to
take
advantage
class.
Of that. Go to the
class. I also have good news. Yesterday, my wife went to her first gi class.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, wow. we went together.
3 or 4 the training sessions so far, right?
Yeah.
About 3?
Yeah. She hasn't said she doesn't like it. So that's good. And then the group of girls are really cool. And, they're knowledgeable as well.
Yeah.
And it's like same class,
That's
same
awesome.
time. They have a room for the kids to play in because we got to bring the kids. And my kids do jiu-jitsu too, by the way, Mike. And
nice.
So they're familiar with the space. And the kids' room is a mat too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So they could be doing jiu-jitsu.
So it's just like, dude, it was just like, dude, we were putting our gis on in the bedroom. And I was like, dude, we're putting our gis on together. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Dude, you're like, I did it. I got her to do this.
Yes. My wife told me this week that she will never do jiu-jitsu. She's like, you're never going to get me on the mat. Just get it out of your head.
I'll bring my wife over to your house.
She just won't. She's into kickboxing. I call it dance fighting to
Sounds to
mess
me
with
like
her.
she
does those like raw kick. It's a raw kickboxing. I love the place. They're nice. I've gone with her. But it's, the hitting the bag, the exercising, do squats, like a kind of a mini CrossFit kind of thing. That's what she loves.
You can share it in other ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can share it in other ways with her. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be like necessarily doing jiu-jitsu. Every now and then show her a little move or something. You know what I mean? Like, hey, come here, baby, let me show you something cool.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
Right?
You'd think that would work. No.
That's what I've been doing, man.
She's a delicate little flower.
Just I wrist lock my wife in bed.
I say she's a delicate little flower, but she keeps on sending me. There's a video right now. I think it's an old movie. There's a guy sleeping, and the wife comes over and jumps on the bed and punches him in the face while he's sleeping, and then she pretends that she's sleeping. Have you seen that? And then she pretends she's sleeping, and he wakes up like, "What the hell happened?" And she's like,
"Oh no,
what's going on, honey? What's up?" Yeah. She keeps on sending me that, so I'm getting a little nervous.
Yeah, you should be nervous. You should be concerned.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So let's circle back now to the BJJ After 40 brand.
Yeah.
How did this come about? When did you start? Give us some background.
So that was kind of like I think I probably set up the first like my Facebook or whatever for that, like back in like 2012, but it wasn't like anything at all at first. It was just literally like me putting memes up and like, reposting other people's memes. There was no content with me.
Was it a brand?
There's literally nothing with me in it at all. And there was no brand or logo, nothing like that. And kind of what happened was, 2014, I got my black belt, and that summer, actually July 8th of 2014, I put my first video on YouTube, and it was a ninja roll choke video where I'd wrap my lapel around their neck and roll. And it was a couple students and friends and stuff were like, yeah, you should put a video online. And I was like, I don't know. That's not really me. And I was like, I don't know. People probably talk shit or whatever. But I did it. And, so I put it up and, some people liked it and stuff. So I put a few more videos up and then all of a sudden the BJJ After 40 thing started kind of evolving, and I started kind of, putting a lot more video content out, and it's kind of grown a lot. We have a Facebook site that has like 134,000 subscribers on there. And then we have our Instagram, and then we also have our YouTube channel. So, and it continues. I put content out, and I have instructionals and stuff like that. And I just love, sharing jiu-jitsu with the community. And I love hearing other people that are, 40 plus starting jiu-jitsu. And now I get people that are texting me all the time that are like 50 plus, 60 plus, and even older than that are doing jiu-jitsu. And that's the reward for me, is seeing, more and more people getting involved in the art and seeing people my age. I always used to think that, like, when I was in my early 40s, if my mom had been 40 years old and she wanted to start jiu-jitsu, would I feel comfortable with her walking into an academy that I trained at?
Wow, that's a good perspective.
Hell no.
Probably not.
No, my mom would get her ass kicked. Yeah. And I remember my mom at like 40 being like, she went to the gym and stuff, and she still works out. She's 73 now. But like when she was 40, I remember her being in good shape. And I thought, like, man, I don't even think my dad at 40 would have been okay. Like, and he was like an athletic guy, like played sports his whole life. Wouldn't have felt okay with him going into a jiu-jitsu school. I would have definitely thought he would have gotten hurt. So part of like the BJJ After 40 was, how can I create a path for people at 40 that can train in jiu-jitsu in a safe way, and respecting the limits of their age too?
Yeah.
And
my mother, I made my mother, she was a grandmother at 40. I had my first kid at just turned 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow.
I'm still getting my mom to try and remember the name of the thing that I do.
Right? Listen, I think my mom still thinks I do karate. So my mom still thinks I do karate. So
my mom thinks I do jiu-jitsu.
I still don't. I don't even try to correct people anymore. I just
go with it.
You know, our my coach now, his former coach, he just says, like, if somebody calls and says, "Do you do karate there?" Like, yeah, come on in.
Yeah,
they don't know. They're calling. They're saying karate, and they're really saying all martial arts. You know,
they're just throwing it all together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I take that approach now. I'm just like. There's like, oh, you know, the hi-ya thing, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I do a little bit more. I do a little bit more of the ground fighting. You know, that's the
ground karate,
UFC, that stuff on the ground. You know, that's what I do. And then they go, oh yeah, you know, you say UFC and the ground stuff. When they're hugging each other right on the floor.
Yep, that's the one they're hugging. Grab ass.
My father has my love of all of this came from watching boxing with my dad. I could not get him to watch an MMA fight when I first started to get into it.
Yeah.
But me, my friends, my dad and his friends, we would get together for all the big boxing matches. We like all the big pay-per-views.
Awesome.
We'd go to everybody like hosted one, like a fight. And I left him alone. I didn't ask him, you know, I just stopped going to the boxings and you know, friends moved and got married and I just started watching the UFC and now he's into it. He's telling me about Dana White's Contender Series and who's on it.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
like he's just like, what kind of fan are you? You're not watching this stuff? And I'm like that. Between work, the podcast, and me having to know stuff about jiu-jitsu
and your life,
I can't. It's like I have to study just to talk about that.
Yes.
You know, it's like there's so much that's like coming at you. I still watch the big fights, but he's now the guy that's telling me about the up and comers. And I told him to watch your boy.
You know,
your boy that was on the Contender Series.
Oh, okay,
Juan Puerta.
Yeah.
I told him to watch. I'm like, watch it tonight. I'm going to be watching. And I didn't get to watch it. And they're telling me about the fight. And, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, so let's, we got a couple of listener questions. You want to,
sure.
We're going to hit you with the listener question. We're going to jump around a little bit, but I'll let Miguel hit you with the first one.
All right. So the first question is from Bushito Satva on Facebook.
Was it Bushido Satva?
Satva.
Yeah.
Okay. I did my best.
Okay.
All right. When you thought of quitting BJJ, as most of us do at some point, what have you used to keep yourself on the path?
Well, that's a good question because I definitely had a few points where I was very, very close to quitting. You know, most people know I was a brown belt for 13 years, which is an absurd amount of time to be at one belt. So
that extended plan, huh?
Yeah, like and I started out on the fast track and then went on the extended plan. Like I started in '96. I had my brown belt in 2001, and they got my black belt in 2014.
Oh,
people always say,
what's the story in those 13 years?
Yeah, and so people always ask, were you training? Yeah, I was training. It was a bunch of things that I'd relocated a bunch of times and moved. So switching jiu-jitsu instructors, as you guys know, like is very challenging because and as it should be. Like I'm not comfortable with somebody walking into my academy and promoting them right away. Like there needs to be some kind of tenure. There needs to be a relationship that gets built up. So I totally understand that. So I was never opposed to that, but that kind of works against you. So there was the moving, there was relocating, there was, I had a lot of depression too. And so the depression kind of like, was waves of that, sometimes those highs and lows where jiu-jitsu feels really good, then, you want to quit, and then really high and then really low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and so for me, there was a lot of moments of wanting to quit. I think what really the things that really shifted for me was, at the time I wanted to quit when I was like 42, my daughter was training at the time and my wife. So there was sort of this like mental pressure that man, what kind of example would I be setting for my kids if I quit? Like I really needed to decide at some point, am I going to chase that black belt and get that black belt, or am I really going to quit? Because after 13 years, at about year 11, you're kind of like, fuck, man, I don't know that I'm ever going to be a black belt.
Yeah.
And so you're just, and you almost, I got to the point too, where I kind of had accepted that. Like I'd make jokes about it. People meet you and they're like, oh, you're a brown belt. How long have you been a brown belt? Oh, I've been a brown belt for 10 years. I'm going to be a brown belt forever. I don't need a black belt, stuff like that. So that's sort of, go ahead.
Oh, would your game change? Because you were a brown belt for so long that I'm sure you went through so many different progressions because who cares about a belt? Time is time, especially time on the mat. When you would be okay and accepting that you didn't care about your fate? You just like loved the sport and you were like happy your game then versus like on your lows when you said, like, would your game change?
I feel like it's funny now. Like I just talked about this on a video recently. I feel like, I've been a black belt for, so 2014 to 2021. So, 7
Almost
years.
22,
Yeah, whatever. I can't even remember what year it is. It's like, are we 22, 21? But 7
there.
years now as a black belt, right? I've progressed way more in the last 7 years as a black belt than I ever did in that 13 years as a brown belt. I say by tenfold, a millionfold, just because I feel like I understand the art at a much deeper level now as a black belt. My game's evolved so much more. When I think of specific techniques now, there's just so much more to it than there was, a few years ago even.
Do you think that there's a little part of this? Because I'm feeling this now. I mean, definitely not to the level that you'd probably feel it, but I feel that as a brown belt now, new brown belt, just got it, a certain level of responsibility to be better.
Yeah, of course.
The expectation is different. I've always loved to teach. Besides doing jiu-jitsu, one of the other things that I love to do is teaching people jiu-jitsu. And I don't mean like coaching, but grabbing that white belt, that new white belt, and showing them close guard and sharing it. But, I feel like for me now, I have to pay attention a little bit more. I'm doing more on my own. I'm going back to like when I was a white belt, watching more videos and educating myself and feeding my mind.
Bam, back in the game.
Becoming a better teacher. So that's
my job helped. Quitting my full-time job and opening my own business again helped. But I feel like that's a big reason why I'm like, now, people are going to look at me differently. I may not be able to beat the young kids and like the purple belt Alex's anymore, who's a beast now. But
he's been a beast for a while.
There's a certain amount. I just think there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes along with that, and I want to live up to that responsibility as a brown belt.
And so your professors did a really, really good job, because you're exactly where you should be right now. Like you're exactly how I envision brown belt. It's that purple belt is like a teenager, right? They have all of the accessibility of an adult, right? Like, but they don't have all of the experience yet, right? So they can do everything an adult can do, but they don't have the experience yet, right? So they can do footlocks now. They can do all these cool moves. So purple belts are kind of wild and crazy. Like they're your teenagers, right? Like they're kind of nuts. And that's where they need to be. That's where they start to develop the sense of me. And that's important as a teenager. You think of your teenager. I think of my daughter right now. She's really developing that sense of who she's going to be as an adult, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what a purple belt is. I'm developing who I'm going to be as an adult, which is where you are right now. Okay. You're an adult now. You're a brown belt. You're a senior student. You're feeling that right now for the first time. Like, yeah, man, like I have to act like a brown belt. Like people are kind of looking up to me now. And and that's you actually preparing yourself for black belt. And black belt to me is passing the art on, like the complete art. So like my goal for my students and I've only promoted my wife. It's my only black belt I've ever promoted yet. But my plan though is with my students, I want to give them the complete art. So if they were going to pass that art, I'm not like necessarily their version of it, right? Like their version of it, but the complete art too, in terms of like, can they pass this on to the next generation, right? So that's awesome that you're feeling that right now, because that's kind of where you're supposed to be.
Cool.
There you go.
There you go. Shit.
He said that. He's a black belt. I'm a blue belt.
And you're a brand new brown belt. That's awesome. Congratulations, dude. That's sick.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo, I'm a blue belt, bro. On the last one, you promoted me. I just got promoted last podcast.
What's
for
that?
fake? I said Miguel purple belt.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, yeah.
On the call out. I didn't even notice that. I usually pick up on that stuff. That's my job, to review that stuff.
I guess I'm opening a school now.
Thanks means a lot. Just want to say.
All right. Next question. Okay. So, and this is, we actually got a bunch of good questions from two different people. So how have you managed to reconcile a flow lifestyle of compassion and care for others with the realities of doing potential harm to others if you would have to use your BJJ in a conflict or in a self-defense situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, I think when you first start jiu-jitsu, a lot of people are really focused on self-defense, and they should be. I think that's, you always hear that the first 2 years of jiu-jitsu is trying to beat the person on the streets, and the rest of your life, you're trying to beat someone who really understands the art. So like, I think you get to a point where you understand jiu-jitsu and you don't carry the burden of self-defense anymore. Like I don't carry that burden. Like I'm not worried about that. I'm not like walking around freaking out all the time. You know what I mean? So like I've had people come to me. I remember this one guy years ago. messaged me and he wanted to learn, self-defense. And so he wanted to do private lessons. So he'd come to every lesson, wanted to wear street clothes and doing all this weird stuff. And then he wanted me to come and attack him in his life at some point. Literally he wanted, no, I'm not kidding. He wanted me, right? Dude, he wanted me to come and attack him.
Surprise.
He wanted me to pick a month or a week and literally go stalk him and try to attack him.
I like that. I like that guy.
Right?
I like that guy.
That sounds like something Miguel.
I didn't even know that was an option. I would sign up for that.
Yeah. So you could be that guy, right? You might want to be, but
yeah, that sounds
guy,
like fun.
that guy carries a burden, right? That guy carries a pretty big burden around. He's literally living his life in constant agitation and fear, right? So I think that when you train for a while, once you get to your level, you're a brown belt, right? And even at blue belt, once you get your blue belt, I think you can kind of start to let go of that a little bit, not focused on the self-defense aspect of it and not having to focus on it. You can live, for me, a life of flow, a life of not worried about people attacking me and killing me all the time. You know what I mean?
I call that the quiet confidence that comes along with knowing how to defend yourself, regardless of the martial art you're in. I definitely think, knowing how to use your hands and jiu-jitsu is a good combination. Sure. So Muay Thai or kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. But there comes a point where, look, when I even into my 30s, me and my friends would go out, cause a little trouble, want to get into scuffles, we were assholes. And that when I started to train jiu-jitsu, that just went away. You start to realize, number one, you start to go, oh shit, how many other people that I didn't know that I didn't realize they train jiu-jitsu. You don't know who else is training.
Yeah.
It's oh shit, there are other people that know this.
Russian roulette.
I got to be careful. then it goes to, well, I don't want to hurt anybody. Now that I know what I'm starting to know what I do. I don't want to hurt anybody.
You know what it feels like to get
and then you just don't want to be bothered. You're I don't want to. I don't even want to be bothered. I want to be. But then there's again, I think, a quiet confidence that comes along with it. I can
totally
protect
agree.
myself. I don't have to worry so much.
Totally
because I know how to protect myself. And look, I can't stop a bullet, but I know how to defend myself, and I feel comfortable in any situation. But not I think the guy that you're talking about, there's got to be a point that I don't know if he still trains with you or continued to train.
No.
It's a long time ago.
That would go, that would go away if he started to train and he'd realize, okay, I'm being silly about this.
Yeah.
There's this whole other side, these doors that open up for you. And then you're really learning about the art and the lifestyle.
I had a recent one, and I didn't know until you said something how to articulate it. And my new goal, I know I'm kind of strong, right? Towards some people, and but to others, my strength.
What do you mean that when you're rolling?
When I'm rolling, so what he said about first couple years, how to protect yourself, next how to beat somebody that knows what they're doing. I feel like I'm starting to get that in the sense of I know that I'm stronger than a higher belt that's really good technically, but I could goon them if I really wanted to. I know I could.
But you don't.
I don't, because if I get them or I do something that person wasn't expecting, I know when they go, oh shit, or hell yeah, way to go.
Yeah.
I know they mean it because they know I didn't goon it.
And it's more fulfilling for you
because
too.
you feel somebody's strength. When you roll with somebody, you feel them.
Yeah.
So as soon as you feel them, you're like, oh shit. Or you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I know, and that person that I'm rolling with, they have way more experience.
Yeah.
So I know they know that when I did it for real, I didn't goon it. It worked. I caught him.
So that guy, Mike, that guy didn't train with you for long?
No, what the funny thing is, he actually started doing jiu-jitsu. So actually, eventually, he did kind of.
Yeah.
I kind of, I entertained that shit for a while, for a month. You know what I mean? To eventually get him in a gi, and actually, he ended up getting his blue belt. And this was at a different academy, so I don't know whatever became of him. But he definitely started out in this very weird, strange mindset. And and there's people out there like that. You know what I mean? It's so yeah.
A lot of ways to grow up.
Yeah, there are. Jiu-jitsu.
You want to hit that next question?
Do I do the same
Yeah, the
topic?
same guy.
Okay.
The how do.
I just want to shout out to this guy because his grammar, his or her grammar.
I corrected a few little things there.
Okay,
not much.
Very well phrased. How do you stay supportive of your partner's BJJ's journey, especially when they don't seem to care as much about it as you do? Maybe in the beginning stages for some of their journey.
Oh, that's a good one because, my wife and I, we've trained together all the way through. And so when she started jiu-jitsu, I was a brown belt and she was a white belt. And so I saw her go through all of the ranks. And, you know, for us, it was like this for a very long time. You know, I was here and she was here. And then little by little, she closed that gap. And we definitely had our ups and downs with our training. I remember and we tend to roll pretty hard with each other. Like we roll harder with each other than probably we roll with anybody else. Like people watch us roll and they're like, whoa, but we never hurt each other, like physically or mentally. Right. And that's kind of the key right there, physically or mentally. So part of being supportive of your partner training is being like a good friend to them. Because what I've seen in the past is most, you know, husband and wives that train together are not good partners in class together. I've seen very few people that can really pull that off. And the reason they can is because the boundaries are different. You would never talk to another student in class, maybe the way you talk to each other. And, you know, and I've seen guys sometimes can be kind of maybe hard on their wives when they're training, you know, like not in like they don't mean to, they really have their best interest in mind. Like they want
that's
them to
why,
be
like
good.
from a protective standpoint.
Yeah, like I want to help you, I want to get you. But sometimes I think you just got to stand back and just let them have their own experience, right? Like don't try to like control and micromanage your partner's experience. So let them have their own experience on the mat. And then the other really big thing is you got it. And this is a good one for you because your wife's just starting.
Yeah.
Like treat your class together when you train together, like date night.
Yeah.
It's not fight night. Like never fight each other. Like when you guys roll with each other, it should be like, you know, shits and giggles. Like you're laughing and it's fun. Oh yeah, baby, this is a good time. If you want to have the hard rolls, go have those with somebody else. Like,
yeah.
Don't feel like your job's to chest your wife now and put your forearm on her face. And
yeah.
Like, yeah, baby.
No.
Now
have you rolled with her yet? Have you rolled with her or
no.
done any, even at home?
I haven't. I mean, at home, I'm not going to share that information with you.
Kicking his ass.
No, I haven't. And I'm already on that train, Mike.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm
So
the one, I hope that she doesn't go hard on me because I'm like,
There
I
you
can't
go,
wait.
right?
Like, I already got some things that I got planned out, you know?
So listen, my wife and I, like we had, you know, forever, like I had to manage the roles to a degree, right? Like I was always trying to like, you know, just and this is how you roll with anybody who's less experienced than you. You make it challenging. Make it challenging, but not impossible.
Yes.
Right. So I would always try to manage those roles. But then it got to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. That all of a sudden my wife was like kind of hard to roll with. And then it got to a point a couple of years ago. I remember the first time it like really hit me. So she likes to do a lot of lapel chokes. Right. So we're rolling and she gets a lapel around my neck and I'm just kind of like not fully respecting it, but like a little bit. And I went to kind of arrogantly roll in some other direction. And I rolled right into the choke, like deeper. Boom. I pass out. Right? Like bad. Like I went out cold and I'm laying there for a minute. And it's kind of funny because I pop up and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, that was so weird. I fell asleep when we were rolling. and it's kind of funny because the school we were in, they had a security camera. So we watched the video later and you start pulling out the lapel. And she's like, you didn't fall asleep. I put you out. And I was like, no, baby. I literally fell asleep. Like I remember we were rolling and like, I don't know, I got kind of sleepy and I dozed off, I think. And when you say that, when I say it now, it sounds insane, right? Like, well, that's crazy. But that's how it felt. Like, have you guys ever been put asleep or anything like that?
I have not.
No. Not yet.
I've come close. I've seen the room get smaller. You know.
Well, yeah, this room got real small real quick.
Yeah.
So I went like completely out. You know what I mean? Like it was bad to the point where like I had a headache for like 2 days.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was, I guess, yeah. So it eventually evened itself out.
You ever have a point? I know we had a couple on that talked about sometimes when they're their husband-wife team. Erin Harp, she competes.
Incredible cardio.
And Luis Mata, they're married. They own Apollo.
Yeah, it's Apollo. It's up in like past Jupiter, way up.
I feel bad that Gracie Apollo Beach in North Florida. And they talked about sometimes when they're mad at each other at the house, rolling with each other in the gym kind of helps work it out. Like getting it's not even just about like getting out the anger. It's just like, all right, let's roll. And then you kind of, like you said, you go from here to here. You start to forget. You start to push it down and go, it's not really that big.
Oh, we've definitely had that. We've even had like the rolling in anger, like where we were kind of at each other and we're like, just don't say anything, just start rolling. And, you know, and it definitely kind of works that out. Not like, but we weren't rolling like being mean with our anger with the roll. Like maybe we were going to the roll like angry at each other, you know, or a disagreement or something. But then the rolling sort of like, you know, like we talked about earlier, it has that way of just taking the ass and getting it back down to here again. And it just does, you know.
Then do you have makeup
you
roll?
know, A makeup roll?
Yeah,
That's
you
a
have
good
a
one,
makeup
too.
roll afterwards. Yeah.
That's a good one too, right?
Angry roll, makeup roll.
You save those for home though.
And then you save the makeup roll.
Yeah,
for home,
I know.
right?
Yeah. No gi.
No
Yeah.
gi.
No gi.
No.
Big time no gi.
All right, we've got another question from
Okay.
Jamie JT Torres. I don't think it's the JT Torres that
AJT
competes.
Torres.
AJT Torres, yes.
I hope it is.
If you could roll with any BJJ legend, past or present, who would it be and why?
I don't know. Like, it would definitely probably be someone more like from the Japanese lineage, honestly. Like, I'd love to go back further than, maybe Maeda, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I read Maeda's book. What is it called? The Toughest Man That Ever Lived. Totally awesome book. Like,
Great
it's a
title.
Great little book. Yeah, it's a great book. It's kind of written like a novel, and it's about his life, and it's really, really cool. So I think Maeda would be pretty awesome, because one of the things with Maeda was that he was double jointed. Most people don't know that.
Really?
He was double jointed, so he couldn't really be armbarred,
Cheater.
which is kind of
wow.
weird, right?
Yeah.
But the armbar was one of his moves too. Like, the armbar was kind of his main move. So I think Maeda would have been interesting for sure.
Do you watch, are you a consumer of jiu-jitsu, like flow grappling and competitions? Do you watch that stuff?
Not really, not much anymore. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't follow a lot of it anymore. It's kind of funny because I think my YouTube algorithm thinks I hate jujitsu. And I think Instagram does too, because I don't really follow anybody. Like, mostly because I like kind of keeping my feed kind of clean. I just don't want to read a lot of stuff, really. And whenever jujitsu comes up, I'm always like, not interested.
Yeah.
I'm so overwhelmed by it all the time. I guess, what, I've kind of to the point now, right? It's not that I don't like other people's stuff or respect it or anything like that. I'm just, I don't know, I'm kind of not interested in it that much,
It was a
and I kind
phase.
of like just staying in my own, like, kind of mind with my jujitsu. I get enough jujitsu from, like, just teaching, honestly. Like, I could pick one move that, right now we're knee deep in the triangles. I just put out a new instructional called I Love Triangles. And so I'm like, yeah, knee deep, literally. Like,
Yeah.
I love, triangles is my whole world. Like, I always joke about it. Like, I did that instructional kind of as my freaking ode to triangles, because it's like my love affair. Like, it's, and I'm built for it, and I love triangles. But part of what I wanted to do with that instructional was to bring it down to people that maybe can't always do triangles. Maybe their triangles are locked like this instead of like Foley, right? So I address in this triangle.
You've seen some video of me rolling, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I call it the triangle dilemma. And the dilemma with the triangle is that when you go to teach it in a class, you're going to have some people with short legs. You're going to have some people with long legs that fit really nicely, and some people that it's really hard for them. So how do you teach a triangle to them? So in that instructional, I really kind of addressed that, the triangle dilemma. What was the original question? I'm sorry.
So, like, are you a consumer of jiu-jitsu?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Watching and stuff?
So I'm really not that much because mostly, like, when I'm teaching a move, like when we're teaching triangles right now, there's so much that's coming back to me just from teaching it, like just showing it to my students. I'm like, oh my God, there's this, there's that, and this detail. And then sometimes when I'm teaching a move, I'll say, hold on a sec. Let me just grapple with somebody right now and try this move for a little bit. Cause it's interesting. There's what you do when you teach, and then there's what you do when you do. Do you follow what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's different, right? Like, I bet when you roll and actually do your moves, there's a lot of little tiny details that you don't even probably think about that your body's just so used to doing. So I'm always trying to dial that in too. Like, what does my body actually do instinctively versus what I consciously think I do?
The invisible jiu-jitsu, I think, right?
Right.
Is it Hickson?
Exactly what Hickson calls it.
Right?
I got the opposite of that.
Like it's funny because sometimes I'll drill. Sometimes I'll drill, and like I said before, I'm like, oh, I remember, like, oh wow, I got to put my foot there. But when I'm doing it in a roll, I do it. It may not look real pretty, but I'm doing it, and I get there, but I'm not thinking so much about, okay, where did I put my foot, and where's my hand's supposed to be, and my elbow needs to be close to
there's
my
so much
knee,
subtleties, right?
Yeah, I still get there, But I mean, the drill, drilling's important. But I kind of realize that about myself. It's like I'm still gonna get there, but I don't put a lot of thought into the motion. I guess It's like I love the lockdown, and I just wind up all of a sudden somebody's attacking me, and I'm in a lockdown. Like, I don't know all the intricacies of how I get there, and if I had to explain it to somebody, I'd really have to see like a video of myself doing it. But I get there, and everybody hates me for getting to that.
It
lockdown.
doesn't feel good.
Right.
I felt it. Yeah.
It's not good.
It's not. It's no bueno.
We had Robert Drysdale on recently, and he said, talking about like consuming jiu-jitsu outside of doing jiu-jitsu, he's just like, it's like if you went to an accountant and asked him to look like these numbers, or, you ask an attorney a legal question on a weekend while he's out at dinner. Like, you're so immersed in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You're putting out content. You're training. You're going to school. You love it. You've got it. It's everything that your family, you said, right? It's like
you have to have a time too to kind of turn it off a little bit.
Yeah.
And my wife and I, we try to be conscious of that. So our big thing is no talking about our academy after 10 p.m.
Oh, really?
So we shut that off because that's business. Like that's our day-to-day life. But jiu-jitsu we'll continue talking about. And I love talking about it with my wife. It's so dope to have like a fellow black belt at home to share jiu-jitsu with and talk about it with, and talk about our experiences and like truly share that with.
Preach.
I feel like so honored to have that,
So
and you're going to have that someday, Miguel.
Screw you both. I'm leaving.
You just have to happen, dude.
Hit him
No,
with
but it's dope to have that. Yeah.
I just want to say I'm on the opposite side of the fence right now. True fanboy. Don't stop sending me posts. If you see a sick choke, ship it.
I love it. I
Fanboy.
definitely. I went on like a flow grappling tear for months, and now I'm just back to like, I listen to a podcast that you were on, like driving down or like in the background while I'm working, like that. I'm more like I'm the consuming. My jiu-jitsu consumption now is a little bit more about the guests, because we went from we were doing 2 podcasts a month. We went to doing 3 or 4. We're trying to do one a week.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I can't just sit there and watch the latest move or instructional. I'm like studying for the next guest.
Yeah.
But I might watch your
jujitsu.
instructionals, or I'll listen to a podcast that you were on.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you so that when we do sit down, like, okay, I feel like I know you a little bit, and it's not so like, hey, stranger, how are you? And so I know, so I'm doing my research more. So and I'm fine with that as long as I'm surrounded by jiu-jitsu. I don't care.
Podcast.
Yeah, but as long as I'm surrounded by jiu-jitsu, I'm happy.
Yeah,
whether I'm doing it or talking about it.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Umbrella's good.
I named the Black Belt Digital Marketing is my company. If anybody didn't know, we have them as a title sponsor. I mean, I name the logo has the jiu-jitsu belt in it, and black belt. I aspire to be that. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt at marketing, is what I like to say. But,
I give that to you.
Even my world outside of jiu-jitsu, in some way, shape, or form ties back into this. So I just love it.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Yeah.
That's an addiction. It's an
We
addiction.
got our last listener question, and then we've still got some more stuff for you, but
Nice.
this is the last listener question from JJ.
AJT Torres. Yeah. What are your thoughts on making BJJ as part of kids' regular school's curriculum in their physical education classes? Oh, that's a good
That's
question.
interesting.
I know, like
that could be
they do
good.
that in like in the United Arab Emirates, right? Isn't it? It's like
Let it
part of the
ride,
gym,
bro.
yeah.
I say let's go.
Yeah.
Teach them what hands feels like.
No, I think it could be really good. That could be a great thing. Jiu-jitsu for everyone, right? Like it's always good for kids. Like I think kids should have some exposure to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could. How could that possibly be a bad thing? Yeah, that's a great idea.
I just don't know that if schools in the U.S.
Dude,
no, it'll never happen.
Yeah.
But it's a cool idea. I just wish it would happen. I just don't think it probably will.
So
It's so hard to it's so hard to get anything into a school anymore, right? Like, the amount of hoops that you have to jump through, and something that's so physical, it would be hard to do. But it would be a cool thing if it could ever happen.
You need one video of one kid passing out,
to be honest,
and that's my concern, right? Is that how do you manage that and control that? Because that's a little bit of a challenge. Just day to day running your own academy, like we're giving kids, like they're playing with fire, and so our job has to be like, how can we teach them to respect that too?
Hey, stop
Right. Like my own children at home, right? My daughter and my son have been able to use the stove and prepare food since they were like very young, like 5 years old, 6 years old. I'm not even kidding. And we've taught them from at a very young age to respect fire and heat. When I was a kid, no one really taught me that. I was the naughty kid in the car, like playing with matches and fucking around with the cigarette adapter and shit and burning shit.
Real talk.
Right? You're
thing.
that guy too.
Yeah.
Dude,
I used to play with matches in the basement.
Yo,
My parents
one time,
would want to kill me.
One time,
Me too,
we were riding with the windows down because back in the day, that's what you did. And I learned that if you tap on the car and you match the rev of what the wheel would be, then my parent would think they had a flat tire. So I stick my hand out, and I'd be like, when we start taking off, I'd be like, pop, 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 pop.
You're evil. You're an evil
bro.
Man. We had a wood pile. You know, I grew up in New York, and you have a fireplace.
Yeah.
We had a wood pile way back in the backyard. So I used to take styrofoam and plastic cups.
Oh my god,
back there,
napalm.
Breathe all that in. And,
dude, I remember burning that kind of stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember going in my bedroom and burning hair mousse. Because they make blue flames. Yeah, hair mousse.
Oh,
wow. You take my mom's mousse and burn it.
Content.
I got to try that one.
Dude, it's crazy,
alcohol.
right?
Yeah.
So the point there being that, like
fire's good.
Yeah, fire's well, but teach them to respect it, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like, if you think like it's like footlocks, right? Like I teach a lot of, I don't like a lot of heel hooks. Like, I don't like that stuff with the gi, obviously. Like, I think it's dangerous with the gi. No gi, it's okay. But and I have a very manageable environment here where, like, I'm seeing my students, like, we have small classes. So it's a little bit safer, but like, I also like to introduce that stuff early in their training. I don't want to save and have them fear it. Like, it's like fire. Ooh, when you're 18, you can have your first match. Right? Like, no, I want to teach them that stuff early on so that they can respect it and not hurt each other doing it. When eventually they get to that point where we can give them that in their training, they're already prepared for it.
Dude, what belt rank are you teaching? Like foot locks, heel hooks, leg locks?
I honestly, we're pretty much like a gi school. We have one no gi class a week. I like no gi, but I prefer jiu-jitsu with the gi on, just as a person, I think it's great for self-defense that way. I think it's a good way to learn jiu-jitsu. I think you learn the grips the right way. I think it's just a good way to learn jiu-jitsu. So I don't teach a whole lot of heel hooks and all that. But I teach guys toe holds. And if they do heel hooks, my colored belts, which is where we keep it, we kind of flow through it. I don't like students tapping people out with it. Like, I don't want to see people tap into heel hooks and toe holds. Like, if you get a heel hook, you're just moving through it. You know what I mean? You're not like real, because what's beyond this? What's beyond this?
100%
tap. Like, my arm right here goes about like that. Anything beyond this is going to probably be traumatic to my elbow. So, like, in this environment here, like, I want people to be super, super safe with their training,
Yeah.
So we will introduce a lot of that stuff early, but in really safe ways where they're not trying to like tap people out. They're not trying to fight through it with an ego, but
they know
really
they got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You keep moving through it. Like, what are you arguing about possibly, right?
I know.
Do you want him to fish it? Do you want him to finish it? Like,
I'll say
what I mean?
I know I roll with people like that, and I'll just be like, tap, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I love wrist locks, but I'm not trying to make my students tap to them. And same thing with if they get me in a wrist, like, we kind of laugh through it a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a white belts. We wound up like I had him in
banana
like a half guard. And, well, no, because I didn't have the lockdown in, but I had his leg here.
It's called deep half.
But I had his foot right here, and all I had to do was like roll over for a knee bar, and he was a white belt.
Yeah.
So I didn't roll. So I just held it there and just like let him try to figure it out. What do you have to do? And I'm like, kind of go this way, and I just held it there. But again, I knew I had it's a freaking white belt. I'm not gonna
and
do
so
it to him.
and you have to be okay with that. And I tell my students too, you have to be okay with it to the point of like, you got them in a move. You let them out of it. They didn't tap, and they don't even know that. They're not even going to acknowledge that you let them out of it. You got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, versus like, oh man, I had you in that move. You should have tapped. That's pointless.
Awesome.
Yeah, you kind of age out from that though. That comes with experience and rank and just training for you to be able to do that and go like,
that's all good.
Yeah.
Because you know, right? You don't.
So to the question about the teaching the kids in the school. So my children have been training for, a couple years now. And when they fight at home, it's like my wife and I don't even worry because like Hayden knows how to shell up and, how to defend a takedown. So does Cooper. But like what I'm saying is like when they're wrestling with each other, they're like doing real moves and they're not doing it to hurt each other, but they're doing it to like establish dominance.
Yeah.
So it's like they already know at that young age when they're beat.
They're also being taught that though, because they're not being told to finish a choke or to
what I'm saying
overextend
is,
an
like,
armbar.
Like, I'm not worried about them fighting. They
Yeah.
don't hurt each other fighting
Yeah.
ever. They hurt themselves doing something stupid themselves. They never hurt each other fighting.
Falling off a chair, trying to calm it down.
Yeah,
That's
stuff
because
like
you've given it discipline, right? Like you've
Yeah.
put discipline around it. And that's what I always tell parents. Like sometimes you get parents come in and they're worried. They're like, well, if they do this, are they going to become like hurt other kids and stuff? It's like, no, we're going to put discipline around it because
Yeah.
kids are going to wrestle and fight no matter what, right? And it's okay to let kids do that. Like that's a normal thing.
For sure.
Like if you watch little freaking puppies play, man, they wrestle, they play. We have twin babies, dude. They're like constantly doing that.
Super
when you have
match.
two little ones the same age, they're just all over each other wrestling and stuff. So it's super normal. But give it some discipline, and they're not gonna hurt each other.
God, I can't wait to watch my kids fight for real.
Right.
Like when they're both good and they're having
they're good, right? And you're like,
and they're
holy
having
crap.
a bad day. I would watch that.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move into our speed round. You just answered our first question, gi or no gi. You said you prefer for a gi, so you can elaborate on any of the answers here. We call it a speed round. So takedown or pull guard, favorite move?
Oh, takedown.
You're a takedown guy.
Bam.
Yeah.
Favorite competitor to watch? You said you don't consume a lot of jiu-jitsu, but do you have a favorite
But back
competitor?
in the day, I always liked Leandro Lowe a lot.
Yeah,
Dude's awesome.
He's tall like me, lanky. Loved his knee slide.
I have
Built a lot of my game after him.
Did they just release the Flow Grappling movie about him?
On Leandro. No, that's Buchecha.
Oh, Boucher. I keep on getting
Dude,
that
Leandro
confused,
Lowe, I don't know if you watched it on Flow Grappling. He had like back in the day when he tried to win every single belt title at every single weight, like the Super Slam.
Wow.
So he tried to triple
Wow.
crown on 2 weight divisions same year. So he was like cutting. So he hired a nutritionist for the first time, right?
Wow.
And she's like, "Tell me what you eat." He's like, "Oh, I wake up, eat pizza, and then I do
She's like, oh,
jujitsu,
man.
and then I drink Coke." And she's
Fix
like,
that.
"And then pizza, and then Coke." And then she's like, "How much Coke are you drinking in a day?" And Coca-Cola, is that what you're saying? He's like, "Yeah, Coca-Cola, 2 liters."
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And dude, this nutritionist, like her jaw was dropping.
He's
like,
making like a
why?
comeback. He's,
No, but bro,
right now though, I'm saying
What
he's going to make a
saying
comeback,
is
right?
that motherfucker was so good, and all he was
Yeah,
doing
he could eat like shit.
was
Do that.
eating shit, and then he got a nutritionist, and he became unbeatable, bro.
Yeah.
Unbeatable.
Yeah, that's funny.
He got his
Wow.
food right. It was
Yeah.
mushing people.
All right, next question.
On
What
pizza.
is your ultimate goal as it relates to your jiu-jitsu journey?
To continue the rest of my life to die in the mats.
That's a good one.
Damn, die on the mat.
Yeah.
Hope it happens.
I hope my wife kills me.
Me
I
too.
hope my wife eventually starts to train and chokes me out. I pass out and I never come back.
She'll punch you in the head while you're sleeping.
What's the craziest? Don't punch me in the head. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in the gym or on the mats? Competition
man.
mats.
Competition mats?
Any mat.
Any mat.
Ooh, being at a Naga tournament back in like 1998, and this whole like riot started where Matt Serra was going to fight this other guy, and they both stripped down to their shorts, and they start throwing punches at each other. And then Kip Kohler, Kip Kohler from Naga, Kip, the
I
ball
know.
guy.
I've heard the name Kip.
Right. So
Yeah,
Kip's
I
the
don't
guy
know
that
if
runs all of Naga, right? Anyway, so he gets between them trying to break it up. And then the police come and it's this huge riot, people throwing chairs and stuff. That was pretty crazy. And I got a picture. I've got this picture. I got to put it online of like them like in each other's faces getting ready to punch each other.
I like
That
how
was
they
pretty crazy.
undressed before.
Like they literally it's kind of funny because they were both all the way down to like Speedos. It's like, were you wearing Speedos? I don't understand.
They were ready for this.
I was gonna say,
This is going to
it sounds
happen,
like they might
right?
have set this up.
One of them was wearing a cup for the armbar. Ah.
Right? Yeah,
Don't come to a Speedo fight with boxer shorts.
Yeah, right.
Oh, hold on. Wait, I'll tell you one more real quick. I remember a Grappler's Quest tournament. A guy one time in a super fight. I don't know who these two guys were, but it was a big super fight. Guy gets a guy in the triangle. Then all of a sudden, the guy with the triangle choke starts screaming. The guy bit him on the inside of his leg.
Oh,
And there's a big bite. He's got a big bite mark on his crotch.
Mike Tyson them.
wow.
Dude.
Mike Tyson and
In
Evander
a super
Holyfield.
fight in front of everybody.
Wow.
Then they stopped and he denied it. But of course, there's a bite mark.
Come on.
Yeah.
He hit
That's
his leg, dude.
admissible in court.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was too crazy. All right. So there's 2. So go to the next one. Sorry.
If you could go back in time and talk to yourself before the very first time you ever stepped on the mat, on the jiu-jitsu mat, what would you tell yourself?
You're going to be a black belt. I don't think I would have believed it. So many points. Like it almost makes me emotional, but like, yeah, like you're going to be a black belt. And I don't think I would have believed it.
Yeah.
But I almost don't know if I'd ever want to go back and tell myself anything, because I don't want to get in the way of anything that happened, honestly, because every
like the
up and
butterfly
down,
effect, right?
Literally, because well, it's not even just that. There were so, when I look back at it now, hindsight's a powerful tool, right? We never know our lessons until after they happen. So like it was all great. Every roadblock led me to where I am now. So thank God it led me here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
he's
he's
the first guy to next level that question.
Yeah. Well, that kind of ties into the next question, which I think he kind of answered there. Do you have any regrets as it relates to your jiu-jitsu journey?
No regrets.
No regrets ever. Never. Every day is a blessing, dude. Every day is a blessing.
Okay. I'm going to let my man ask the last and most important question that we have.
And he's at a gi school. Do you or do you not wash your belt?
Oh, God. You got to go on my channel, because this is the ongoing joke, because I do wash my belt. And every time I wash it, I always post a picture or a video of it being washed. And I get more comments on my Facebook and Instagram about washing the belt, right? Like, it's the craziest shit. Like, either like people believe, all of your knowledge is in your belt.
Yeah.
My big thing is all my cooties, not my cooties, everybody else's cooties are in my belt. And I actually don't feel like I wash it enough. I do it like once a month, but
Yeah.
Did we do that?
It's a belt.
So,
you know what I mean?
Is that our fault?
It's a belt.
What's that?
Is the whole belt thing our fault?
No.
It's been around
It's
long.
probably
Okay.
been an ongoing thing. We
So-
just kind of took it and ran when me and
it's
Junior
kind of gross.
would argue about it.
I think it's been around. No, I'm saying like.
How do you guys feel? What do you guys feel about it?
Yeah. Oh, hey, I wash my belt all the time because I don't
Good for
care.
you.
It's a belt.
So I've always washed it.
Nice.
When I got my brown belt, I just started washing my brown belt, so that was probably the longest I ever went with not washing it, was like a month. The best argument that I've heard for the best argument that I've heard for somebody telling people not to wash their belt from a coach's perspective was Wagner Rocha, where he said,
so you could keep track.
It's like you're the old school thinking was not just that it washes away the knowledge. I think that's kind of a little bit of the joke, but that you're fooling people into how much you've trained, right? You want it to fade because of the training and the sweat and the time on the mat, not go and put it in the wash.
Right.
I can't say that's a good argument. I respect
and I
it
guess
from a
like
coach's perspective.
I appreciate that, but I also can see where but then what are you really focusing on now?
Yeah.
Right. Because then the belt is now becoming this thing of like, well, if it looks older, then he must be better at jiu-jitsu, or you know what I mean? Like, is that really,
Yeah, don't belt me, man.
My argument,
but I get it.
My counter to that is, we were a pretty decent school, probably one of the bigger schools in the area. My coach knows the time that I put in. He knows when I'm there. He knows when I'm not. He knows when he's like, hey, where were you last
week? And your teammates know too. Your teammates know. Your friends know.
Yeah,
like,
you can't really.
Who cares if your belt looks old or not?
You can't really fool the system.
My perspective, we got an awesome sponsor that has great discounts, except this month, and I just buy a new belt. I've already bought.
There you go.
I've bought like 2 belts already.
I've never washed it to like it. Oh my God, it's falling.
That's because you don't wash like how I wash.
I know mine doesn't even fall apart, dude. I have a Kataro belt. Like I've had it for. It's one that Origin sent me, and it's like that thing is like steel, dude.
Origin.
And to be honest with you, I almost never wear my belt. That's what's so funny about it.
Like it just comes off, or you just
don't put it on? I don't put it on, dude. I like to do a lot of lapel stuff. So when I'm training with the gi on, I'd prefer to have my belt off. So I have my tools here. And if you watch most of my videos, I almost never wear a gi top unless I need the gi top in the video. And the reason I do that is from a viewer's perspective, the move looks cleaner. Like when I'm in a rash guard, you can see things better.
Yeah.
But my gi's all kind of flopping all over the damn place. It's very hard to see sometimes. So
especially if
I
it's
just
the
usually
same
wear
material.
a rash guard when I make videos, and I wear a rash guard most of the time when I'm teaching. I hardly ever put the gi on unless I'm physically going to use the gi. I don't need it to, demonstrate a move. I won't use it,
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
Team wash
There
your
you
belt.
go.
Yep.
We're gonna have flashes across the bottom of the screen.
Two in a row.
That's a and well respected.
Wash your belt.
Jiu-jitsu practitioners. When Robert Drysdale says he washes his belt, and Mike Bidwell says he washes his belt, you wash your belt, guys. It's okay,
bro. It's a belt.
Go get a new one if it falls apart. Like who cares, dude?
Almost won the bet.
We had a bet, Mike, if I was going to drop this before the end of the podcast. because every
I just
time
saw it moving. It wobbled.
Yeah.
It was like,
if I turn, my leg hits the
has it ever happened?
No. Rewatch this podcast and just see how excited I got when it started wobbling.
Mike, listen, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Stick around for 1 second. We're going to come back, though. Everybody stick around. We're going to connect. Oh, I did it again. We're gonna do some shout outs, but stick around for a second, Mike. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And if you're ever down in Miami, please come in and sit down with us in the studio. All right?
Yeah,
give you an excuse to. We'll give you an excuse to come to the.
You almost hit it.
To Miami.
I kind of want a bowling ball right now. I think I can hit it from here.
All right, guys, stick around. We got some shout outs for you. That was great, man. Mike, awesome dude, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Look at that. It's funny because I can look past you and I see my reflection. It's every once in a while I see myself over there.
Out.
There's like 4 of us on the podcast.
Yeah, that was a fun podcast.
Yeah, I
introspective.
Yeah, and he's an awesome guy, man.
Yeah.
And if you haven't already, go to his Instagram and check out his videos. They're amazing.
Just move to Colorado.
At BJJ After 40. Go check him out. And it's BJJ After 40 on IG and BJJafter40.com.
See, he's got a more laid back feel, like very bohemian kind of.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think he kind of what is it like? What's the name of the gym? Like Flow.
Yeah, Flow. Yeah, it's Flow.
He's definitely. I don't know about all that, Bo. He goes like, hey,
it's just fucking Colorado.
I don't know about his habits off the mat, but he is an awesome dude. His content's amazing,
for sure,
and he does have that. Look, you train. Think about the discipline you have to have 4 black belts in 4 different disciplines. The discipline to be a brown belt for 13 years and still,
that's a movie right there, man.
But that's
like the one where
you really
Leonardo
start to not care about
had
it.
like the metal mask.
I'm sure he was tapping. I'm sure he was tapping every black belt that he rolled with.
Not every.
At year 4, 5, 10, 13 of being a brown belt, he was doing pretty well against those guys.
I would have hated. Be the guy who tries to go hard, like with him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like probably being chill. Like you come in there and you're like a scrappy purple belt, a little teenager, and then you try and give it to him.
Yeah, and then you realize he's been the brown belt for 13 years. He's essentially
because if you break it down, he was probably like a 1-stripe white belt for like 3-4 years. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? I saw Nick is doing really well. He found out that his the cyst on his other testicle was not cancer, so glad to hear he's doing okay. He's all good. He said he's cancer free. But he also posted a picture recently where he got his first stripe on his purple belt.
Yeah,
but he's like a 10-year purple belt as well. Like because he's moved around and he
just won that competition.
Yeah. So I think he's been training for 14 years. I love you, Nick. I'm not making fun of you by any means, but he's it's a similar situation. I saw him get his first stripe on his purple belt, and I'm like, really? Come on.
Sandbag.
Give him the damn brown belt already. I mean, you've got to know his level. I get, though, like training at a different gym, and a coach wants you to, kind of be there for a certain amount of time before he gives you about promotion. You don't want to just walk into a gym.
Bro, how much more committed?
Yeah.
He's in.
Yeah.
He's in, man. He's in.
Let's do some housekeeping here. Shout out to our Patreon podcast patrons. Patreon podcast patrons, including our gym sponsors.
Got your PPP.
Carlson Gracie, Winter Haven in Winter Haven, Florida. CGWinterhaven.com and at Carlson Gracie _Winter Haven on Instagram. Carlson Gracie, Broward County in North Lauderdale. Carlson Gracie, Broward County.com and Carlson Gracie, Broward County. I always should I say the Florida? We're in Florida. We know where North Lauderdale is, but other listeners don't, so I always trip myself up.
You got to give people your area code, man.
John Way Martial Arts in Plantation, Florida.
That's right.
JohnWayMartialArts.com.
Great school, great guy.
John Way Martial Arts. John just got his black belt.
Oh, he got his black belt.
He just got his black belt.
And I also follow him on IG and stuff, His kid got into a good school. Good college.
Oh, very cool.
I'm not going to be specific about it, but... that's also...
You're not going to be Pacific about it?
Not to be Pacific about it. I'm just saying...
Shout out.
It's a lot of good things are happening.
Yeah,
and a great
awesome.
school, good environment. Actually, one of the blue belts at that school also trains at my school sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I've
I
had
still got to get
memberships to
down
both.
there, man. I still got to get over there.
He said he's had
trained
membership
there,
for
right?
both all the time.
You trained?
Yeah, it was
You had a good
awesome.
time?
Yeah, it was good.
I still want to get over there and start to do some kung fu.
It's
Gotta
cool.
work that
Dude,
into.
that was the thing that kind of brought me there.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you
I
do
went
some
to,
kung fu?
I went
Did
to
you
a
do kung fu that
jiu-jitsu.
day?
I went to a jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
Just because it worked in my schedule the best.
Yeah.
It was the day I had
You
like
gotta
to
get
do
over
it.
there. We
I already
should-
did it.
No, I'm saying we have to do the kung fu.
Let's okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
No,
Don't
not threaten you with a good
don't-
time.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to our individual sponsors: Jeremiah Berra, Robert Walker, Frank House, Boa Athletics. Check them out on IG at BOA_athletics. Jason Smiley, CJ Carroll, Mission 22, Chuck Reddoor, and Roberto Santiago. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit us on patreon.com/Jiu Jitsu Dummies. Join and you're automatically entered to win up to $100 in Jiu Jitsu swag every month. At Jiu Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support the show. You can still donate to our scholarship program. We'll be doing a scholarship in the new year directly from the podcast. Thank you to the We Defy Foundation for all their support and all they do for the veterans and jiu-jitsu communities. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you.
They provide therapeutic relief to disabled combat veterans through jiu-jitsu. Check them out at We Defy Foundation on IG, and you can also donate anytime at wedefyfoundation.org. All right. Last but not least, once again, Fight Back CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com.
Damn, I got to re-up.
Code JJD. Yeah, I need some freeze.
I got to re-up.
Yeah, that freeze. Is this one? Hold on.
Yeah.
Is this empty or is this my empty? Oh, there's still some in here. I'm gonna have to bring this.
Bam.
That's my
good
go-to.
stuff.
That's my go-to now. Little roll-on CBD.
Also,
Feels good.
it just feels good to give money to a guy that I like to give money to.
Yeah, he's
helping people out too.
He helps people find he's providing therapeutic relief for people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And substance abuse issues through jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Finding them a school, helping them get a gi.
I want to talk to him
He'll
again.
even just talk to you, like if you want to reach out and talk to him.
for sure.
He posts videos all the time, like reach out to me. So he's an awesome dude. So again, love from day one, just love the message, love the brand, love the product.
The product is good too, backs it up.
Does I don't take baths. My wife doesn't take baths. Does your wife take baths?
We do.
Grab
It's
one of
not,
those bath bombs.
it's not only my wife. I do too.
Okay, so take that bath. Take one of those bath bombs.
Yeah.
And report back. So take one of those today and report back to us.
I'll jump on that grenade.
You jump on that grenade. Good. I
got
appreciate it.
I got you.
Tell us. I don't. We don't even have a bathtub in the shower, the master shower. Like my daughter has the bath.
Oh, we
you know.
don't have a bat in the master.
Throw it on. Will it work if I throw it in the shower?
When the aliens invade, bro, they're gonna go like, "Why so many bathrooms?" It'd be like 3 bedrooms, 4.5 bath.
On
So
that
what was
note,
going on
The
here?
studio with 8 bathrooms.
on that note, I introduced you. I didn't get you to when I introduce you, usually say your rank and maybe give
I'm
your
cool with
IG.
it. I've actually been liking it this way.
So just like just Miguel.
Sometimes I get promoted.
Yeah. So what was that? He on your call out?
Yeah, my
on the
call
last
out.
episode?
It was like purple belt.
Yeah, you got lucky. It could
Really?
have been
I was
something
like,
else.
boy,
I gotta keep it.
Could've
I gotta
been
keep
white
a better.
belt.
I gotta keep a better eye on.
Bye.
We could have demoted you to white belt.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
yeah,
cool
we
with
should,
that,
we
too.
should put white belt. We'll put white belt.
Sandbag.
We'll
Put
put
three
funk
For
stripes.
cheating.
Kung
With
Fu
an asterisk.
Sifu.
No, with an asterisk for cheating. For self-promoting to purple belt.
I didn't realize. But tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at MLJRico. Just there you go. That's
And
it.
you are
I'm a blue belt.
You're a blue belt.
Still
Okay.
blue belt
So
at a new school.
gonna
Blue
go
balls
back.
belt.
We're
Kenzo.
gonna take down that last episode and then relaunch it.
You don't got to do
Just
that.
for that.
You don't got to do that. I'll circle back.
Bo's like, no, we're not.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. We'll circle back.
Bo,
We'll leave
where,
it at blue balls belt.
where can everybody find you, Bo?
Bad works.
At Badwork at BADWERKS.
You got
Go
it.
check him out.
Awesome.
Works.
I'm at Uncle Milty BJJ on IG. Again, I monitor the at Jiu Jitsu Dummies, all of our properties. So if you have any questions, shoot them over. I'm usually the guy that's going to answer you. Anything else?
Yeah, I think
We're
I'm
good?
gonna make like one of those like a non-private account because my account's private. So I was just thinking about it right now. It's kind of hard if
Yeah.
you did want to reach out to me or send me like a question or something like that. So I'm gonna make
you
one.
can't be followed, and when you post up,
Yeah.
you can't share it
I
unless
kinda,
you take a screenshot.
I like my my Instagram, you know, I do family stuff on there because I got family that lives overseas and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where we all share.
You
So
need to
I think,
separate.
I think so. Just in case.
Do what
I'm not going to do a BJJ. Everybody does that.
Time to do your frat account.
I don't think I'm good enough
Your
to
frat.
do that.
If you did
that
like
underscore.
if you did Emma J. Rico JJD, nobody would get that. Like that people wouldn't
No,
just get
do
it.
the
Like they would be
BJJ.
like, oh, he put the D at
I
the
mean,
end.
I might do JJD DJJ
Or just do
instead of
BBW.
BJJ. I'm taking it 2 more letters up.
People are gonna be really confused. Wait, what did you say? Are you stuttering? when you give
Yeah,
that?
no DJJ. You know,
Do it BWB.
That would be cool if you started one.
I wonder
that
if
we
it's
could change
taken.
just stuff. Would you say, be careful?
I know. I just
Look,
it has
not
a
live.
yes.
It's going to
All right.
air next week.
Yes.
What's the handle you're going to go after?
I'm gonna go after. What is it? JJD DJJ underscore DJJ.
Wait,
JJD DJJ.
DJJ. What's the DJJ?
It's like BJJ, but 2 more letters up. Just because I don't think I'm.
But
Everybody, I just feel like everybody's
does
like
BJJ.
everybody, even shit that doesn't even make sense with jujitsu, but they did like 3 classes. They'll be like, I like flowers underscore BJJ. I'm like, I don't want to.
What's the right amount of time to add BJJ to your IG after you start training?
Personally,
At least blue belt?
I mean, personally, I would think a world title with IBJJF.
No,
That's what I personally think.
I don't.
I think it should be like the blue check mark in Instagram, the BJ underscore BJJ. I think it should be issued.
I'm gonna say that I probably changed it. I don't remember, but probably around blue belt.
Yeah,
I'm that's when it's like, okay, I'm into this. This is
I'm
real.
saying you're wrong. That's what I'm saying.
I know you're telling me.
I'm saying that needs to get
Yeah, no.
and then
I
get
mean-
back to you if you earned it. You know, you earned it to yourself. I give you that 100%. I can't even whoop your ass. 100%. I can't whoop your ass. Let it be known.
You heard that?
I'm just saying. I'm saying
This is on
underscore
tape.
BJJ should be like the unofficial.
We haven't rolled in a
check
while. You
mark.
got to come by for a visit.
I know.
You gotta see where you're at.
We gotta see.
You gotta see. You gotta watch my legs, right?
Kate's actually talked about doing an open mat because all the girls, you know, she's still friends with. I mean, we're all still friends, you know,
Yeah.
Ray and all
Come
of them,
by,
you know,
man.
yeah,
She's talking about it already.
yeah. Well, you know what? I think there's like some stuff. Well, because they're friends and they talk all the time.
Yeah.
They bring it up. They're like, oh, now that you're, you know,
That's cool. That's good.
or however they
BJJ
say.
friends.
I don't read her text. I'm just saying that's the vibe I'm getting.
I want to see if she changes her Instagram too.
I'm gonna take it away.
At
I know
whatever
the
BJJ.
passwords, bro.
All right, we're gonna let you guys go. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu.
Take it easy.
Us.